In this video, I will be covering issues I have come across, the end result of multiple training sessions, as well as showing you how you can train your own agent. I do have a few training scenarios I've already run through and let it train for a while. Came across a few issues in our program as well, which these ones I don't think are caused by Unity, but probably just by how we code. I'll have the errors pop up on the screen, or illustrations showing what it looked like with the issue. One of them that I don't think I have a screenshot of is, you see how we have all of these. We got a lot that I was using for training. It causes a few issues. One, it seems the nav mesh experiences some issues with training. I can't really capture that with a screenshot. I didn't record it while I was doing the training, but essentially, let's say, actually I don't need to zoom in here. The zombies spawn, and they're supposed to go in and walk over to our player or our agent. Well, they would spawn in, and instead of immediately moving, they would sit there and wait for a while. Sometimes they would immediately move, sometimes they wouldn't, and they would wait a really long time before they'd move. And then I noticed that even though it's supposed to update like every I think 1/10 of a second on the position, our agent, he could wander all the way over here and they would still be tracking to right here. I solved that by removing, I think, everything except like 10 of these. So like this amount I kept. In fact, if I go through and I do this and I hide it, that's basically what it looked like, where I just like, let me remove all of these during training, and it made it look better. As for whether or not it actually affected training, I'm not sure, because we have a really successful training case where it turned out pretty great, I think, and also one where it didn't quite turn out how I expected, but it still, I think, is fairly good and showcases different training techniques. Had like all of these, and so it most likely had the issue. I wasn't at my computer for those ones. I just let it run, but it still trained it well. So, up to you on whether or not you think that's going to cause an issue when you're training. Another issue is, and I'll have a screenshot pop up here, is a bunch of zombies would just decide to spawn in an area. Like I could see in the console, it prints out, there's 9 left, 8 left. All of a sudden, like let's say we're supposed to have 10, it'd be like, oh, there's 30 there now. Oh, there's 40. There's that kind of issue. I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming it has something to either do with our counter, or, well, no, because they're spawning that way too. I'm not entirely sure. Even when I minimized that, I don't know the issue for that, or what is causing that issue. I haven't figured that out yet, but I wanted to mention it for when you guys run this, if you come across that. It's something I'm not entirely sure about, and I'm not thinking I'm going to move any further into this project, so I'm probably not going to look into fixing it. But you guys, if you want to take the project further, it is something that should probably be fixed, although it doesn't seem to run into that issue when it's just one environment. So I think it has something to do with duplicating. So there's probably something there. Let's see, what else was there? They wait for a long time. We did that. Sometimes there's more. Nav mesh. Oh, also the nav mesh issue. Like I was saying, when I got rid of these, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, or if I just kind of went off on, I reduced the size and into a little, I guess I was just talking. It would fix the issue. There would be no more waiting. They would just immediately start moving like they're supposed to. So I think it might have been just an issue with maybe Unity trying to keep up with everything, because my computer shouldn't be having an issue. I've got a good CPU, upgraded the GPU just recently, and I enabled using CUDA cores. So then it would use the GPU for at least part of the training. So I'm not entirely sure. I'm guessing it's Unity that was having the issue. And yeah, sometimes they would stop spawning. Like I noticed like maybe 3 of these didn't have any zombies spawning, and sometimes if I reactivated, like deactivated and reactivated, they'd start spawning again. Sometimes they wouldn't. I'm not entirely sure on why it was doing that. Even when I was looking in here, it wasn't showing the zombies spawning. So, oh, actually, no, never mind. I do have an idea for why it was doing it. If we look at world, the list is empty. It was showing something like this. non-zombie controller. So I'm thinking it was deleting them but not removing them from the list. So there's probably just an issue with how we're, emptying the list, which makes sense. We're kind of really brute forcing that. But that is just an issue that shows up. Now for running let's actually go over training itself and how we do that. If I open up, I have Unity Hub here, go into Explorer, bring you to where the folder is, hop on in here. At this point, I'm hoping that you have a, what's it called, like an environment. If we go into command prompt here, a virtual environment, that's the name of it. If I do directory, sometimes you can do ls. I think you have to have a special package on Windows. I had it on my previous Windows and I don't have it anymore. I can do ls, it doesn't know. So I'm not sure what I did to have ls last time. But if I go into directory, we can see right here I have gsvenv. I named it that. It's a Python virtual environment. I call this generic shooter. So it's generic shooter virtual environment. If I do gsvenv /scripts/activate, you're in here. This is where you can install all of your Python packages. I'd recommend using virtual environment. I think I mentioned all this in the first episode, and I was saying, go check out the Pellet Grabber series. The very first episode, I cover everything from downloading Python to installing all these packages to running everything in Unity. By this point, I would assume you figured this out, but maybe not. Maybe, this is the first video you're watching, or you've just been following along and not building it quite yet to see what the outcome is. But, we go into here, and then let's say we just want to run, how it is. We don't want to do any special configs or anything. We'll open this up, and we're just going to type MLAgents -learn, and then --run-id. And then here you could put an equal sign if you want. Doesn't really matter. Make sure you don't put an equal sign here, because then it's going to be, I don't know what that is. And you're going to, I'm just going to name it no config changes. We're going to run that. And it should any second now. Brings up Unity. Mine says CUDA. If yours doesn't say like CU and the numbers, it's just using your CPU, which is what I had been using for training, I think pretty much all of Pellet Grabber and the first few iterations, or at least, first few test iterations of this, which I guess I didn't really show yet. But then we go to Unity, we just hit play. Oh, and make sure it should already be set actually. Under your agent. Oh, I have a lot spawning in as well, because I was testing doing 30. No punishment, default inference only. It's doing really well. Why is it doing, is it just using the brain I already had? This is kind of spoiling. Oh, let's go ahead. We're going to stop this. Doing some debugging here. We're going to stop that. I'm going to turn off the brain. And let's just hide all of these so I don't have to deal with changing all of those. We'll just leave it as default. Maybe that was the issue. Maybe it's because it's set to inference. But now let's run. So no config changes 3. This is just the basic config. Everything's going to be set by default. And then after we run this, and it should show properly. See, he's just moving randomly now. And he's just shooting randomly. This is what we wanted. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he's going to learn. Hopefully quickly. Because he's getting swarmed. Okay, well that's how you run it. I think we just needed to set the default. I had it as inference. Usually when I train, it's at default. So that's probably the issue. I back out of here. Go ahead. End the training. Don't want to keep it anyways. But I'm going to go into our agent. And I'm going to select standard. Now this is the result of doing the standard training. So it's, I think, like 50,000 steps. I think 128 layers in the neural network. I don't recall exactly the numbers. I believe that's what it is. In fact, if you go over here, I'll put these links in the description, but we have MLAgents config PPO, and you can grab the config files for here that they have for their test one or their examples, and you can go and change them if you want. Like we have behaviors, 3D ball, all these settings, and they can get very complex. Like if we go and we grab sorter curriculum, quite a complex training. And there's curriculum and then sorters. I'm assuming, I can't tell actually if these line up. They do. Num tiles is, I think, a different agent. Then if we go over here and we see like visual food collector, fairly basic as well, but a lot of steps to train. I did a lot of steps with these. I'll throw up screenshots I have of some training, you know, just the show. There was a lot of steps that went into them. I had them run for like a few hours. And there was, well, I don't have actually a screenshot for standard. I didn't take a screenshot of that one, but we'll run it. Oh wait, I have it on default. We don't want it on default. Actually, I can probably just change it once it's running. Oh, never mind. Okay, default works fine because he has a brain. Oh, and I meant to throw in a script to be able to have better camera angles, but that's fine. I'll throw that in later and see how slow they're moving. I guess that's just default speed. I just got used to the training speed. But he's just kind of looking around and randomly shooting. And during training, he would focus, I think, on this angle particularly, and he would just shoot in that direction. Actually, this training might have been, the standard one might have been done on a different map, like on one of the ones I made before making this. Because he doesn't quite know. Like, he shot that one zombie, and that's it. He's just like, I'm going to just keep turning, and eventually I'm going to hit something, hopefully. Oh, no, he didn't hit it. Okay, well, if we go into here, that's just the default. I don't think I have a copy of the default. We open up here. I go into assets, brains. It's where I have them all stored. Standard. Oh, no, I do. Configuration.yaml. I need to get Notepad++ reinstalled. So I look in here. Batch size 2000. Buffer size needs to be significantly larger. If you look in here, it goes over. They have a document that goes over everything. So like if I look up, oh, I'm actually scrolled down pretty far. Should be able to see there's max steps, time horizon. If I look for buffer, there should be, are those the normal buffer size? I feel like there's one that was just buffer. Let me see, or buffer, typical buffer size. Yeah, it's probably hyperparameters. Oh yeah, I see buffer size, batch size. Yeah, and so you can go through and you can read about them to see what they do and then experiment with it. But you know, everything's default here. 50,000 or 500,000. No, that's checkpoint interval. Max steps. Oh, never mind. It's not default. I don't think it's supposed to be that large. Maybe it is. I just copied this from the palette grabber one and brought it over. Maybe it's not default, but these are the settings that I used. I'll go through them kind of slowly. You can pause if you want to copy them. Actually, I have quite a bit in here. I didn't really look at this. Most of these things I don't change. But let's go and hop over. The next one I want to look at is Runaway. This one I went and I left, all the points I've left the same. For the most part, like 30 points per kill, that kind of thing, running into a wall, which in fact, I don't think I ever had one run into a wall because it's such a large area. But Runaway was where I actually went through and I updated it. I tried to make it smarter. And I was like, let's just see what happens here. These ones are the same. I thought I changed that. Maybe I didn't. Or maybe I changed it for both. Or is this the wrong? I think I added 10. So I think I added a 1 and a 0 here. But I know for certain 120. I think this is the wrong configuration file. I don't think. Oh, yeah. It's probably Zombie Hunter. I don't know why I have Runaway config there. Yeah, there we go. 1024 hidden units. Okay, I guess these were the same size. I didn't change it. I think I changed linear rate. I think I added just the 5 at the end. Make it slightly different. Max number, that looks like it's about the same. I don't know, I feel like I'm remembering things different than what I thought. But let's look at Runaway and see how the training went for that one. Agent, switch over here to Runaway, and you can just, in your Explorer, just, right click and hit rename and change the names. They're named by what you have the behavior name by default, and then the behavior name has to match the config. So like I have it named shooter here and it's shooter there. If I change this, it'll be like, oh, there's nothing named like shooter A. We don't have that in the config. So they need to match. So let's go ahead and run it with Runaway Brain. And you'll see why I have it called Runaway Brain, because I was like, I accidentally created either the best. Actually, you know what? Before we run this, I'm going to add in those scripts real quick, so that way we have better camera angles. I'll be right back. Okay, I went and I added in a couple cameras here, removed the audio listeners that they have on them, and I have this script here, which is just a full view camera, behind camera, and a quote-unquote cinematic camera. Essentially, I'm just looking behind the agent. But we have the full view, cinematic, just switching between the three cameras, and then to take our keyboard inputs, which is the number key, or the numpad 1, numpad 2, numpad 3. If you want just 1, 2, 3, that's the row of numbers. I believe you just get rid of the brackets. But let's go through our agent. We have the Runaway Brain. Let's just hop in here and see why it's called the Runaway Brain. Oh, actually, let's go ahead and make this play maximized. There we go. Have the full view going. So there we go. We have full view. We have behind. It's kind of, angled. And then we have the quote-unquote cinematic here. And so you can see he kind of just runs around in a circle. This, I left everything the same as standard for points. 30 points for killing, minus 15 points for dying, and then minus 1 point per missed shot. And so what I learned that he learned when I came back is that it's one of two things. Either one, it's the ultimate zombie training machine. Like, look at that. He's masterfully training them. And then you can, obviously it'd be great if he turned around because there's nothing in front of him really to shoot them. But he doesn't quite do that. In fact, you can see right here that once he shoots, that'll disappear. Otherwise, it's just it's an asset that's just floating there. But he's elected just to run away. And so if he had a teammate to shoot them, that would probably be pretty great. But he doesn't. Oh, he's getting cornered. He should have gone around. When I was watching him before when he was training, he was just going around this entire area. I don't think he was doing the full area, but this inner diamond, he was circling around. Yeah, I will. This one isn't as entertaining, I suppose, with watching. I gotta click on it. There we go. Oh no, he's gonna get got. Yep, he got. Okay, well then let's, not pause, exit, and Runaway Brain, standard, no punishment. I believe I have maybe 2 no punishment ones. I'll have to look to see if I have another one. But I know at the very least this one I should have actually 2 no punishments. One where is the same training setup as what you just saw with Runaway Brain, where there's only 10 zombies. In fact, let's change this to the 10 so you can see how well he performs just with the 10 zombies that he was trained to deal with. And then I'll throw in 30 and we can see how that goes. The next one I have, which I don't actually have in here, which I'll need to pause to add in, was exact same training setup, no punishment, but we had 30 zombies going in at a time. And that's where I was actually around for the training. I didn't just leave my computer running with the training, and I noticed the issues that I brought up at the beginning of the video. But let's go ahead and see how he does here with no punishment. The only differences I made between this and the runaway one you just saw was, as the name suggests, I took away any of their punishments. So if he misses a shot, actually I think I left the punishment in for getting eaten by a zombie, the -15. I'd have to go, I can go and double check. Let's actually double check right here. We'll pause it, look at our agent controller. If we kill a zombie, we get 30. When we get 0, nothing happens. Else, I had this taken out. I think I don't know why I added it back in, but it should be, that should be gone. Maybe I added it back in afterwards. I know I removed it for the training, so we'll see how it goes. But I, at the very least, removed the punishment for missing shots. And so right now he's not shooting at all. But the zombies haven't moved within his sight. But one's coming up. Oh, I haven't watched this in this perspective. It's pretty bad with his shakiness. But look at that. He's sniping them. If I look here, look at that. He just whips around. And he's like, oh, there's one in my vision. And he just kind of circles around and he sees one and he takes it out. And so he does a really good job. I'll leave this running for a bit. And then we'll switch over to the 30 zombie scenario. Okay, yeah, I know it's kind of slow, so I'm gonna stop it there. I am going to actually make a change here with the main camera. I'm gonna bring it in because he shakes a ton. I've noticed. So let's do this. So we're at least zoomed in a bit more and we can see the zombies kind of coming in around him. I wish it would show. I didn't have this issue before with the main camera not wanting to show here. I get rid of these, because before I was able to make it where the main camera is the default. I think that could be good. Maybe zoom it out a little. It's like if I zoom out too much, maybe we do want an angle. We can have like this angle here. I think that works. We'll save it. And then let's add in the 30 zombies here so you can see when he only trained with 10. And ideally, I think the best way to train these would be to add in some code where there's a variable amount of zombies. Where, like, you know, maybe there's 10, maybe there's 2, maybe there's 50. And it's just random each time. So that way he's not trained specifically to a, you know, specific number of zombies. So let's hop in and see how he does. I will just cut my mic and you guys can just watch him slay some zombies. My bad, I forgot to re-enable these cameras. Re-enable, save. Now run and I'll cut my audio. Okay, I think that showcases it fairly well with just how well he does against 30. They tend to get him in the end, but every once in a while he's able to take them all out. I guess it depends on how sparsely they're spawning. So it's every second, but they might all show up in one area, in which case you can just aim down that site and blast them all as they come in single filed. Sometimes they're more evenly distributed. I guess I should have said more concentrated, but more evenly distributed, in which case he can get overwhelmed because they'll show up behind while he's busy attacking others. Like right here, he was shooting down here, and now he's like, oh, these ones are coming up here. He has no idea these ones are showing up over here. But he figured it out, and he's taking them out, kind of. He's trying. That one's coming up behind him. These ones are pushing. They're pushing, and they're going to get him. So see, he focuses too much on one. In fact, he was missing a lot of shots there. It looks like he was shooting like me. But I'm going to go and add in the third and final brain, or fourth and final? The fourth and final brain, which is same setup, but he was training with 30 zombies, and he had all of those issues that I was laying out in the beginning. These ones also might have, but I'm not entirely sure because I didn't witness it. But we'll see how they do with these issues that I mentioned. Actually, never mind. I'm going to show you how to load it in because I forgot I haven't shown that. And you can check out the pellet grabber one if you want, because I show all of that, but I figured I should show it here too. So we were in our brains folder, which I created this just to organize them, because otherwise before I was just throwing them into assets and then I could pick it. But I was like, I wanted to have a folder so I could organize them for this video specifically. But if we go down here, results, this file doesn't exist until you do a training session. And config doesn't exist either until you make it yourself. You just, new folder, config, and you can throw in a YAML file here, which, as I was showing before, you can just copy and paste from their site where they have config files and then change it as you see fit. But if I go back to here, we go into results, the name that we gave it, which if we go up to here, right, or somewhere around here. Yeah, right here, we named it NoConfigChanges3. NoConfigChanges3 is right here. But NoPunishment30 run 2, I think I had a run 1, maybe this was the run 1, I don't know, I think I messed it up. But let's go ahead and we're going to change this name. I'm going to put NoPunishment30. We don't need to move actually I'll move the configuration file as well. I just copy, Control-C. Oops, I don't want to go back that far. Go into Assets, Brains, Folder, NoPunishment30. I'm going to paste it in here. I just have this so that way I can refer to it. Which we already looked at this. And I don't think there was another one there, right? If I go back, look at our config. Oh, actually, yeah, it would just be that config, so I keep changing it. But results, no punishment. In fact, we should look at that. Maybe that one has the correct one, and these are incorrect. That might be it. Config, have we looked at this yet? Maybe, okay, it has the same. So never mind. But let's go into our brains. We can see we have NoPunishment30 now. We have NoPunishment30 for the brain. And so let's run this one and see how it did. right there. He had the option to shoot that guy, and he chose not to. That might be. There's one thing that I guess I showed the screenshot for the different training outcomes, but I'll show it again here. Yeah, with this training session, I don't know if it was, again, the issue with the zombies spawning, or if I just needed to change the configuration, maybe changing the config file or anything like that, but there was a lot of standard deviation between them. Some were doing really well, and some weren't doing so hot. Like, we were hitting like 700 score, which there's 30 points each zombie. You're not losing any points from shooting, which means you could get I think like 900 points total, and we're hitting around 700 or so not always getting them all before dying. With a standard deviation, I think like 1 to 200, like 100 to 200. And so they weren't, we're seeing it here. Maybe if I trained them longer, maybe if I just had better training for him, then maybe they would do a bit better. But he is doing significantly better than the 10. Like, this motion here, he's circling around a lot faster than the one that only had 10 zombies. Maybe it's because of how long I had training. Maybe it's just, because of the sheer amount of zombies he had to learn to do that. But I think he does do better than the 10. And I'm curious, to see if you guys embark on training your own little zombie slaying agent, if, what you guys end up doing, and if you get better results. Or also, if, you see a fix for those bugs that I encountered while going through training. Be curious to hear. I don't plan on, I think, doing anything more with this one. Otherwise, I would look into those bugs. I always, look into fixing them. I think I've identified the main issues with them. But, you never know until you actually solve it. And look at that. He's spinning around. He's all happy with his fully loaded, endless supply of ammo gun. And he's got crazy eyes. Okay, with that, I'm going to end it here. I hope you all enjoyed this series, and I hope you'll join me for whatever is next. I think I have an idea of what I want to do next. Not MLAgents per se, but, I'm not going to say I won't do it in the future. And yeah, hopefully see you all then. I'll let this run for a little bit more so you guys can watch him and probably get motion sickness from all the jittering he's doing when he shoots. He's quaking. Zombies are scary, and he's a pill, and he's seeing these cubes with jutting out teeth and crazy lopsided eyes, and they're trying to eat him. In fact, that one did. Yeah, I can see why he'd shake. Sorry about this, guys. Cutting back in. I realized I never showed how to run your own training session. So if I go and I pop back into our folder here, open up command prompt, I had this close, I'll have to reactivate it. You guys can see I do gsvnv. It's just what I named my virtual environment. This name will be whatever you named yours. Scripts and activate. I activate it here. Then if we want to run a custom one, we have this config file here. I created this myself. I just did, new folder, named it config. I opened it up. I put the YAML file in here, which I have linked down below to the machine learning agents, GitHub and their page with all the different configs that you can copy and paste that in and adjust it however you see fit. But we're going to go into here and we're going to run pretty much the same command. It's going to be MLAgents-learn. But then right here, we're going to specify config / oops, I didn't mean to hit enter. You go back / and then whatever we name it or whatever you want to name it. So I put zombie hunter. So I'll just put zombie hunter dot YAML and then -- run -id and then however you want to name it. So example name, we'll just name it example name and run 1. Then you'd hit enter here, let it load, and there we go. It's ready to start and we could start training. I'm just going to cancel it because I don't want to start training. I did as well. I'm going to mention it here. I went and I was like, you know what? I want to try doing, 100 zombie training session. And I ran basically the same issues I was having before that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. The main ones being that if I had multiple, open, they would stop spawning. Within there is running into that issue. And I think it has to do with, how we're deleting, but maybe not. This thing that is also with all the zombies bunching up, I had 100 spawning in this one area. And they didn't have any issues moving right away. But as soon as I had a second one, they started having some issues. So it could just be, the amount of zombies, like maybe 200's too many. But I think it could be, and I haven't tested it, but it could be just the simulation speed. Because when we're training, it's sped up. But when I'm running things, one-on-one, like in fact, let me just play it right here and we'll test this right now. Oops, I want to move out of this view. I don't want to be in full view. Let's play focused. The brain will run itself, so I don't need to worry about moving. But let's just see if everything is spawning. I don't even know. Do I have 100? I have 100. Yeah, and look at that. Everything is actually running smooth. There's no issues. So I think it might just be because I have everything sped up. In fact, let's see if I can open these. Can I? Okay, it's only 30, but still, it's 100 and then like 30 each, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. 100 there. See, I think it's just everything being sped up. I don't know. I would have to run it for a long time to see if the issue is happening. Because I think it's by default 20 times speed on training. But I think that might actually just be the issue, in which case I don't know if there's a way to really remedy that while running at 20 times speed and using the nav mesh. I'm sure we could probably fix it by having the zombies be their own agent, but I don't. I'm not going to pursue that. You guys can if you want. Essentially, just take out the nav mesh stuff, and oh no, we still run into the issue. So maybe it's not. Maybe it has something to do with nav mesh. I'm not entirely sure, or it's just my own code. But otherwise, it seems to work much better when it's not sped up. They're at least not freezing in place. Although you can see, maybe it's this one. Actually, there's quite a few that are running into the errors. Or maybe they start having them with each individual zombie. I'm not sure. Let's collapse that and we can just see the number going up. Like this guy's just getting pushed around and they're not respawning it. It's just, yeah, the code's breaking. If I look, let me minimize this one, because that one's just pushing everything around. Minimize this one. Which one is this? This one's here. And you look at world, look at the list. Yeah, it's all missing zombies. And then there's the 2, obviously, right there. I think it's just an issue with removing from the list, potentially. But yeah, I just wanted to add in to show how to do your own custom script and cover a little bit of my thoughts on this. Like, actually, no, we were supposed to have 100 here. I was going to say, like, look how many there are there. We're supposed to. Look how well he's doing. Oh, and there it ends. And they're all flooding in real... Oh, but I did decrease, actually, the speed. They all spawn in at 1 second. So, yeah, that explains it. Man, just look at that. Look at all those zombies swarming him. He didn't stand a chance.